Hello and welcome to the follow-up. I am Katie, your host, along with my sidekick, José.
Howdy.
And we are here to share the stories of events and things that we have done and the world of events.
Now, that's a big world. There's a lot of events.
It is a big world. Lots of different events.
Yeah. But what kind of events are we talking about? I mean, because there's like global events, world events, sporting events.
Yes.
What kind of events are we talking about,
Well,
Katie?
today we're talking about weddings and corporate functions, I believe. I believe you're more than just weddings, correct?
Correct.
Today we have Kaci Willwerth with us from Simple Soiree.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
You're based out of
Lancaster.
Yep. And I met Kaci about 8 years ago. I had moved back from Chicago, and at the time,
8 years ago.
Yeah, 8 years ago.
You were like 12.
Thank you. You're so kind. About that, yeah.
Okay.
She at the time she was running wedding shows. She was putting together these wedding shows, and of course, we were a part of one of them at least. Yeah. And I just saw this tiny little firecracker of a woman running around, and she was quite the sales lady at the time. Beyond that, I met her at other events that she was running. Then I come to find out you take over a wedding planning company. Yeah. Here's some things that really fascinate me about you is you plan the biggest end of the year party for vendors. I'm sorry I missed it this year.
I know. I hope you can come next year. It's so fun.
I'm so sad I missed. Jose's giving me evil eyes.
I didn't invite. Hell.
You were probably invited.
You just missed it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, everyone in the wedding industry is invited.
Okay.
Now you know.
So this year they had it over at where were you?
The Inn at Leola Village.
The Inn at Leola Village. And I had full intention of going. I had my dress out and everything. And I had the worst day ever. And I probably should have gone just to make myself feel better.
You should have. Yes, you should have.
But she is well known in the area for putting on this awesome end of year party for vendors. She is an entrepreneur. Her husband's an entrepreneur. He has a construction company.
Correct.
Willwerth Construction.
Correct.
Which you also help out with that.
I mean, I'm not on the payroll, but
you do your
I'm
wifely duties.
Yes.
Yeah. And you actually planned one of my office partner's weddings during the pandemic. So my right-hand woman, Lucy, who helps me, she is my backbone. You got her married and hitched in 2020 with a micro wedding that was broadcast. Yeah. Fun year.
Yeah. Awful.
But
we got her married.
We got her married. What can you tell us a little bit more about yourself? And
where do you want me to start? At age 12?
Well, maybe 13. Let's go 13.
Well, believe it or not, I was a hairstylist and makeup artist. And I believe to this day the industry chose me. I had never even, I think I was at a cousin's wedding when I was a child, but I had never experienced weddings. And I was actually doing hair and makeup for one of my friends. I lived in Orlando at the time. And the weather, typical Florida, rain, sunshine, and the wedding was supposed to be outside. I shifted gears without even thinking twice. I jumped in and I'm wiping off chairs and I'm fixing things and rearranging things. And I went home that night and I was like, I think I'm on the wrong side of this. And so I moved back. I got into catering, restaurant industry. I've been in hospitality 24 years. 18 years ago, the event industry chose me. I was working at a country club at the time in the restaurant. The banquet manager position came open, and my boss came up to me and said, "Hey, I think you'd be really great in the banquet manager position." Before I knew it, I'm running 7 to 8 events a day at the country club, and just fell in love with it.
Wow.
So yeah, that's crazy. That was 16, 17, 18 years ago. But yeah, I'm glad I quit hair and makeup. I wasn't very good at it.
Well, your hair and makeup look great.
Well,
so,
thank you. But
her hair always
I was
great.
not good at it. But yeah, the industry chose me. I fell in love with it, and then moved into working at venues. into sales, running weddings, coordinating. And when you and I met about 8 years ago, my husband and I were having some challenges because he owns a construction company. I was working 70 some hours a week. Our second child came, and we were realizing pretty quickly that it was tough for him to be home every weekend with two small children, and I'm gone every weekend. So I kind of shifted gears, and that's when I took a job working from home, selling bridal shows, and really had to step up my sales game because I'm now not just a coordinator or a banquet manager. I have to sell to make money. But the beautiful thing was the connections I made during that job, including you, and really learning a lot about all different categories of the industry, where before it was just, I was kind of coordinating, delegating. Now I had to learn about musicians and florists, and I loved every minute of it. It came at a perfect time with small kids. But the day came where I said, I really miss weddings. I really miss it. I love being at home with the kids, but Mama's got to get out. Mama's got to get out of the house.
Totally understandable.
And my husband said, hey, why don't you start your own business? Even if you do a handful of weddings a year, at least it'll be. And I had no idea where it was going to go, but I'm super blessed. Yeah.
Yeah. So how many coordinators working with you now?
Counting myself, we have a team of 10.
Wow.
Yeah. I would have never told you that was ever going to happen. That was never the plan.
I don't think it ever is.
Yeah. It was never the plan, but it all kind of happened right around Lucy's wedding, actually, in 2020. When all of our weddings started postponing to 2021, I quickly realized that they were taking up all our prime dates in 2021. And how was I going to stay in business?
Yeah.
How was it going to happen?
I feel you.
The only way for it to happen was for me to grow the team and be able to book more weddings. So in 2020, the silver lining of that god-awful year was I doubled my team.
You double your team. That's awesome. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's from the entrepreneurial space, there are like two reasons why businesses fail. One is that they haven't done sufficient planning. So during the growth, they don't know how to grow. And the other is that when growth does happen, they're not prepared for growth. And I think it's really kind of cool what happened to you, that you were able to, because this is, kind of my mindset is always, my motto is, it is what it is, but it becomes what you make it. So we couldn't change anything about the pandemic. And there was a lot, don't want to go through it again. But there are people that maximized it and utilized the lessons from it to create a future that is a little bit more sustainable. So what you did was, that pivot that you did, that was just, that was brilliant.
Well, but then, like you said, now you have to be prepared for the growth.
Yeah.
So, I worked at venues where I would manage a handful of people, but now we're managing multiple events a day. And how was I going to do this where I can only be at one wedding? But if we're doing 3 or 4 weddings today, and the best answer to that was to hire an amazing team, invest everything into them, to train them, but mostly to empower them.
Yeah.
I empower my girls to be able to make their own decisions, do what's right. And they'll all tell you that. I only check in to be supportive.
That's awesome.
I don't micromanage. I don't
hate micromanaging.
No. Who does?
Nobody.
And I've been micromanaged.
And I hate being micromanaged.
I'm not good at it, Yeah. So I didn't want a team that I had to micromanage or babysit
It's
or
awesome
worry
that
about.
you have a team that you can delegate to and you don't have to be worried about.
Yeah.
And you have full confidence in.
Oh, I'm so blessed. I am nothing without my team.
Yeah.
I'm nothing without them. I'm so blessed.
I kind of feel the same way, although I don't have a team as large as yours. But my backbone is my Lucy girl who works in the office with me, and she keeps me on the straight and narrow, and she can read my mind, and I've been able to. I don't have to worry about the decisions that she makes.
Oh, she's such a gem.
She really is a gem.
She's such a gem. I had so much fun working with her and Phil, their wedding, and then, like you said, COVID hit, and
so
it was interesting.
So tell me about their wedding. It was at a
brand new venue.
Brand new venue.
Yeah, we were their first wedding. I'm 99% sure we were their very first wedding there. And so because they were starting out, COVID had happened. Fortunately, I was able to negotiate some things with them. For example, and they were very kind with this. Not everyone was, unfortunately, but they were very kind in allowing us to do a micro wedding and then a year later have all of their guest list. Yeah. So we were able to negotiate with that with them, which was very nice. But I sat on calls I cried with them. My heart broke with them. I mean, it was, and if there's ever a time you want to have a crystal ball, it's in 2020 as a wedding planner to say, oh, no, in 8 weeks we'll be able to. But no one knew. No one knew. But I kept reminding Lucy and Phil to just stay focused on what's the most important thing. And that was to get them married. Yeah. No matter what, you're marrying your best friend. And who do you want to be there with you? Yes, we want 100 and I think it was 110 people or something. And we ended up with 25, somewhere in that ballpark, but so who are those 25 people that
I was watching in my car from my phone.
We did a live stream. The live stream was a kind of a last minute thing. And I'm so glad we did that we did a live stream for the other 80, 90 guests that couldn't be there in person. But I had a lot of fun with them.
That was wild. Did you do other micro weddings?
Yeah. So believe it or not, 2020 was actually supposed to be my biggest year. And everyone postponed to 2021, except, I can't make this up, 5 weddings. And 3 of them were on the same day. I can't even make it up. So we went from potentially, I think it was 57 weddings we were supposed to have that year down to 5. So the other 52 postponed to 2021. Mm-hmm. So I had some big decisions to make that year, but it was a tough one. It was a tough year for everyone, but I think the priority was just keeping everyone focused on what's the goal here? The goal is to marry your best friend, and it might not look like or feel like or touch or smell or any of the things that you thought it was going to be like on wedding day, but some of them we pivoted and they would cancel the venue and we would move to their backyard. Mm-hmm. And what was cool was 2 of those 5 couples a year later were both expecting and had kids right around. Yep. Yeah. So it was really cool to see that. And that's a reminder of it too. Yes, we're here to get married, but you're also here to start your life and we want a party and a celebration, but does it have to be 200 people?
Yeah.
But I think the other really cool thing is after that, then having a room full of 110, 150 people just felt so much bigger, right? I mean, you guys experienced that on the stage, mm-hmm. but I think there was definitely, and still is, an appreciation for just being back together. Being back together in person.
Yeah, we had 3 weird years of wedding redos, wedding remakes rather, and the first couple of years we were doing 2, sometimes 3 weddings in a weekend just to make up those dates. And of course they're remakes, so they're not, we weren't picking up new business. So we were all, I think all wedding vendors were navigating through that. Like it's like a stagnant year, and you've got to pivot and figure it out. So it was a scary time for all of us.
It was. And I think a lot of people didn't realize at the time that it wasn't just going to be a year.
Yeah.
In our industry, it was going to be 2 or 3.
3 years. And now even I feel like this past year, it's fine. I think we're finally coming to a point where things are, we're getting less jobs, and it's because we're going back to normal. Yeah. Like to normalcy. And that is almost a shock to the system because we've been in hyper mode for 3 years.
Right. There's a new normal for sure. But the good news is everyone I've talked to in the industry, they're saying 2025 is supposed to be our biggest wedding year.
Show it to me.
Yes. We shall manifest that. Claim it.
We're putting it out there. 2025 is supposed to be the biggest wedding year, I think, since 2018.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will take it.
I'll claim it.
Yeah. I will claim it.
Yeah.
Well, if it's a big year, what I want to know is, when couples start planning, they feel really overwhelmed. What what is your advice for a couple when they just first start planning the wedding journey?
I have a lot of advice.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
I have a lot of advice, but I'm not going to go into all of it today. I am writing a book about a lot of this advice.
Ooh, she's writing a book.
A book. And
do you have a title for your book yet?
I am leaning towards, it's not official, but I'm leaning towards planning with a purpose.
Okay.
And we're hoping in the next 12 to 18 months
That's very good.
that we could get this to the publisher. But the goal of the book is to help guide couples to keep it stress-free, to keep it fun, to keep it exciting, and to not get overwhelmed. The first phone calls I usually have with couples and they're stressed out, it's kind of like, the honeymoon wears off. It's the same thing with an engagement.
Yeah.
They get engaged, they're excited, they're having so much fun, and now they sit down and they have
now it means business.
Oh, yeah. They have to deep dive into their finances, and that's scary. When was the last time we had to look at that? And now we have to look at our guest list. So now we're looking at who do we really love?
Yeah.
Who's really important to us? And so there's a lot of emotions that start coming up. I love Aunt Susie, but do we really want Aunt Susie at the wedding? There's a lot of things that start happening mentally, emotionally, and I think one of two things happens. They get overwhelmed and they shut down, or hopefully they get overwhelmed and they call a wedding planner. But the first calls I get are usually, I'm stressed, I don't know what I'm doing. And so I really give couples the advice to take it one category at a time, one step at a time. You said earlier in a different conversation, it's a marathon.
Yeah.
This isn't a sprint, and so if we take it step by step, category by category, where you're not going, I'm hiring my caterer and my band and my florist, and all of a sudden you have a pile of quotes and you're just so overwhelmed. Anybody would shut down. And so taking it, okay, you know what? I'm going to give myself 3 or 4 weeks to hire my caterer, 2 weeks to hire my band, 2 weeks to hire my floor. If you just take it step by step, I think that's huge. But also with that, you definitely want to give yourself time to plan.
Yeah.
I say 12 to 18 months is sufficient. I know not everyone does that. I've planned a wedding in 8 weeks.
I won't tell you.
8 weeks.
I'll just say this. I planned my own wedding.
Did you?
I did. I planned my own wedding in a week and a half.
Yes, girl.
Surprise wedding. Nobody knew. It was 3 hours from where I lived. From York, actually. It was 3 hours from York at the Wisp in Maryland. And I did get 50 people to come, but I made myself sick as a dog doing that because, of course, I took on everything myself.
Yeah.
All of it.
Yeah. But you're very organized. Not everyone is.
I do have ADD, though, I think.
I don't even want to tell you about planning my wedding.
Oh, now you have to.
Me.
Oh, yeah.
A day.
Yeah. It was more like, here's what time you have to show up and be ready.
No. We got married in our backyard.
I love that.
It was a very small wedding, and I would have preferred. I don't know. I want to say I would not have preferred. I love big weddings, and I've had this conversation with so many people, including my youngest stepdaughter, who's in a new relationship that may be leaning that direction.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed. But I have these mixed emotion because it's like, on the one hand, I make a significant amount of my income as being part of the wedding industry.
Right.
On the other hand, I didn't want to get caught up in all of the rigmarole, and my wife and I both had been married before, so this wasn't like the first time.
Right.
So it's like, let's keep it simple.
Yep.
Let's just have immediate family, no extended family, because it started that whole thing of, well, if we invite this friend, then we got to invite that friend, and those two don't get along. And
which seems to be what you talked about earlier is that this is a change that you're seeing in the industry, is that you're seeing people getting married older, people that it might be their second marriage. They might already have children. They might have an established life, established career. And so spending a ton of money on a wedding is not, important to them.
Right. That's definitely been a huge shift the past even 5+ years. But when I first started in the industry, most of my couples were in their early 20s.
Yeah.
Parents were helping pay for their wedding. And parents said that some of them were like, hey, we have no budget. Baby girl gets whatever she wants. And now there's been a huge shift.
Yeah.
It's a lot of our couples want to get through school first. They want to buy a house first. And now they're paying for their own wedding. Mm-hmm. They just graduated. They have school debt. And a lot of them are saying, yeah, I don't know if I want to spend $70,000 on a wedding, Yeah. And there's still ways you can make it very intentional, very special without having to spend that, and be in debt because of your wedding. But some of my favorite weddings are micro weddings, the smaller ones that are super intentional like yours.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I love the working title of your book, Planning with a Purpose, because I think for most people, when it comes to these kind of major life touch points, they often don't do it intentionally. Mm-hmm. It just becomes random. And not that there's anything wrong with just going with the flow, but I think when you have the ability to logically and strategically plan things that set you up for the best level of success. But with that being said, weddings are such a critical point in someone's life. And I think societally we have kind of gotten sidetracked and we look at it as the attraction. We want to have the bigger, better wedding because we went to Cousin Susie's wedding and she had 200 people. So we've got to have 300 and we've got to have a live band and elephants and,
For sure.
And so it becomes this kind of one-upsmanship as opposed to really focusing on what is this day really about and what is it that I want to remember?
That's exactly right.
So like for you, I mean, when you're working with a client and trying to help them to zone in on what they want to do, I mean, how do you draw out of them the purpose of their event?
I try to make it as intentional, meaningful as we can, and personal. I tell all of our couples out of the gate, this day should be a reflection of the two of you. Every wedding has its own story. Yeah. Every wedding is so unique and so special, but this is your story. And not only at the end of the night, what do you want the story to be? What do you want it to be on your 20th wedding anniversary when you're celebrating and you look back and say, hey, remember that? Not everyone's going to remember the ice cream bar. As much as we love ice cream, I'm not knocking it. We love the ice cream bar. What are the things that are the most important to you? Yeah. So I start with couples by saying, let's make a list of what's the most important. These are non-negotiable things I absolutely have to have. These are the things I can live without. I don't even need to look at it. It's not important to me. And then there's a list of maybes. Yeah. Maybe, baby, if we can, we'll look at that later. But my number one piece of advice to couples is to plan wedding planning date nights. And that's how you keep this meaningful. That's how you keep this.
And kind of keep it fun.
Yes. Because we are in the day and age where everyone's working, you're opposite schedules. Yeah. A lot of our couples have kids. By the time you get home, who really wants to get home at the end of the day and sit and talk about wedding
budget?
planning? It's not always fluff and pretty and fun. But if you say, hey, babe, guess what? Sunday night, 7:00, I got a sitter and we're going to open a bottle of wine and we're going to spend an hour and a half just talking about wedding planning. They're in. They're going to do it. It's more fun. It's more exciting. You don't have a million other distractions. You're going to be mindful of the decisions you make. You're going to be with your partner to make those decisions together where it's not texting.
Yes.
Hey, babe, what do you think of this band? Or what do you think of these flowers? Do you like this?
And you're in a positive...
We're chiseling out time for each other.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I said an hour and a half. Sometimes it's less, sometimes it's more. But that helps keep it meaningful, intentional, and on purpose.
That's a super awesome idea.
Yeah, that's my number one piece of advice. But
I love that. Well, I mean, you're great with advice like that because one of the things I admire about you is I feel like you have such a wonderful work-life balance. I follow you on social media, so I see how involved you are with your kids' sports and athletics, and I see how involved you are with your husband's business and promoting that. And her husband has this construction business. And so I'm very envious of your kitchen table. Number one, he made, are you still using it?
Yes. Yes.
It's
all the
like
time.
this natural piece of wood, and it has, what is
So it's a live
epoxy?
edge. We literally cut it off a tree.
Yeah.
And he made the middle of it epoxy. So it looks like a river
clear, like
down.
a river.
But then it's a waterfall edge that actually lifts up, and you can put legs under it so it extends when we're hosting. Yeah, it's really cool. Because I love to host.
I don't remember how many years ago, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, he did this for you. But I'm just so envious of your kitchen table, and how his talents are amazing. So you have a family of very talented people.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you.
But I know event planning is super demanding, especially during the peak of season. How do you personally carve out time to make sure that you are spending that time with your kids and your husband, and it's not a conflict?
Yeah.
It's, being in this industry, it's tough because we are away. We're away on, I get it from my side. It's like, I miss a lot of events.
Yeah.
I miss a lot of friends' holiday parties. I miss a lot of family birthday parties, this and that. And, it can be challenging to figure that out.
Yeah. So I don't call it work-life balance.
Okay.
I love that you brought this up. This is something I am extremely, extremely passionate about.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why.
Okay.
But I call it work-life juggling. I don't think that we ever actually have it balanced.
Yeah.
We juggle it.
That's
and
good.
sometimes we have more balls in this hand than we have in this hand, but it's never fully balanced.
Yeah.
When I think of balance, I think of you have to practice to get there.
Yeah.
Right? You don't just stand on one leg and you're there for 20 minutes, or you don't immediately go into a yoga pose and look like a professional.
Yeah.
It's practice.
It takes time. Yeah.
And I am very, very passionate about this because working in the industry, when I was working at venues, I worked a lot to a point that I was actually very physically ill. Mm-hmm. I ended up in over a 3-year span, all different kinds of health problems. The worst was 42 kidney stones.
Ooh.
I can't make it up. Yeah. When they went in for surgery, they collapsed my lung. There was I was 82, 83 pounds.
Oh my God.
I was very, very
she's
sick.
She's a teeny weeny
I'm
as
4'11".
Yeah, she's
4'11". I'm not a big girl.
Tiny.
But I am an advocate for this work-life balance, work-life juggling, because I know personally what it has done to my health.
Yeah.
And when I took a job working from home, that still was kind of juggling. Now I'm at home. I was used to being gone all the time. But I will say this. I will say that I practice every day. And every day I wake up, this is my number one piece of advice for this. Do not open your phone until you are 150% ready for the day. I do not look at my phone. My alarm goes off. I shut it off. I don't even pick it up off the nightstand. And when I say practice, I'm the one that was like, what's the weather?
Yeah.
I'm the planner. I got to know all the things before I get out of bed today. The best advice I was ever given was, when you do that, it's equivalent to inviting 50 people into your bedroom before you even get out of bed.
Yeah.
It was the best advice I was ever given. So I start my day by not even looking at the phone until, when I say ready, I mean like my hair and makeup.
Yeah.
I will open my phone as if I'm ready for you to walk into my house.
Yeah.
Then I'm ready and we're ready to have a conversation. To a fault sometimes. My husband really needed me one morning. I didn't have my phone on me. But that's my number one. And number two, I'm a mom and a wife before I do anything. Before I do anything. I love what I do. Everyone knows I'm so passionate about planning events, making them fun and stress-free and organized.
Yeah.
But I am mom and wife first. Mm-hmm. And so I think we just practice our priorities, right? We just practice saying, okay, I really know that this bride or groom needs me. I know that this florist really needs to talk to me. But in my world right now, I need one more hour to get my kids off to school, to get them prepared for their day.
Right. Well, you know what? If you're not 100% in that headspace and ready to deal with those things, you're going to be lackluster.
Right. You don't give 100%.
No.
You don't give it. And I've been there.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is I'm not preaching this. I'm saying I'm still practicing this.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm type A. I'm a planner.
Yeah.
A notification. Oh, I gotta get it.
A
email. Yes. Don't wait for me. But there
Here's
are
the thing,
times
though.
where
If you don't know about it, then it can't bother you as much.
That's true. It's true.
Just don't look.
Don't look. So my phone stays there. Also, my other really favorite little hack. You know, you open your phone. Are you a notification girl like I am? If you see a notification, do you feel like you have to?
It depends what the notification is.
Okay. Mine is email and text.
Okay.
I don't like when they pile up.
Yeah.
So I moved my icon over to the next screen.
So you can't see it.
I can't see it.
Ah.
When I'm ready,
That's a good
now
hack.
I have to mindfully swipe to see how many emails I have. But by then, I'm mentally ready. I'm emotionally ready. I want to be able to. My couples deserve 150% for me, and I can't do that while I'm trying to pack a lunch. And this one needs this, and she can't find her shoes, or you know. Wouldn't you rather me wait till 9 or 9:30? Now I'm ready, 150%. I'm here for you.
Yeah.
No other distractions.
That's awesome.
That's it. And I also, lastly to that is, I really believe in my heart that we need to work to live and not live to work. And again, beautiful piece of advice that was given to me. And so I'm very mindful about taking time to do fun things with the kids and I know, and like you said, you're gone a lot on weekends.
Yeah.
So am I.
Yeah.
But then maybe it's not a weekend. Maybe it's a weekday or, you know, maybe they have a half day.
Yeah. I think you guys just took a trip. Didn't you take a trip to like Kalahari or something like that?
Yeah. Yeah.
I took a trip.
Yeah.
Did you?
Lidditz.
No, I think that's such great advice. I mean, and from someone like myself, you really have to have a lot of self-discipline to look at that phone and say, I'm not touching you right now. Like, I'm not going to. I'm going to take some time for myself to have my coffee, to maybe do some yoga, to do some mindfulness type things in the morning, to get my kid off for school.
Self-discipline's huge.
Self-discipline.
Huge.
Big thing for me in the past year has been, you know, I can be a little scattered. I have ADD. I need to reel it in. And my reeling in method is to sit down and write my intentions for the day.
I love that.
And they come in, you know, I write my priorities and where they sit. But I have to sit down and I have to do it every day. And sometimes I do it a couple times a day because I will get frazzled and I'll fall down a rabbit hole and get lost with the million things I've got going on. And then I've got to refocus myself. And so I have to go back and I have to rewrite my intentions again.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that. If it works for you. But that's exactly what I'm saying. It's practice. It's practice. And you keep doing the thing that works for you until it's prioritizing.
It's consistently trying. I'm consistently trying to find that thing that works the best for me.
Yeah. We all are. Yeah. We're all a work in progress, aren't we? We're all still trying to figure the things out.
I know.
But yeah.
Well, what I find interesting, because I mean, I do a lot of, in my coaching and consulting side of what I do talk a whole lot about, I call it work-life management.
I like that.
Because it is just about managing your time and your energy.
Yes.
And there are all kinds of strategies, but ultimately you do have to find what works best for you, what fits your personality type. But I think for people like us in the industries that we work in, because we have so many people that are relying on us for major decisions, some major impactful decisions, whether it's your kids or your husband or your clients. There are all these people that are looking to you for the answers, for the solutions, for the guidance. Sure. And it can be kind of daunting and exhausting. You know, compassion fatigue is a big thing, and the way that we give so much to people to help them through their situations that sometimes at the end of the day we don't have much left in our tank. So I mean, how do you recharge yourself?
So true. Boundaries. Boundaries. I mean, I have brides that will sometimes text at 6:30 in the morning, 11 o'clock on a Sunday night. It's they need it. They need it now. Help me. And I feel them. I feel them. I want to be there for them. But it's the same thing as, do you want me to be there for you at 150%? Or do you want me to be there for you at 10%? Yeah. And I once upon a time was that person to like, oh, just give them an answer.
Yeah.
And I'd go back and go, oh, why the hell did I say that?
Yeah, because you say something that you go back and you go,
yes. Just practice the pause. Build the boundaries. I'm a much better human being and wedding planner that I am at 9 a.m. on Monday than I am at 11 o'clock on Sunday. You know, so kind of building the boundaries. But I also think it's just, we have to live. We have to do other things other than work. And don't get me wrong, I love what I do. I love it. I wouldn't be doing it this long if I didn't love it. But it can be as simple as my husband and I going down and watching a movie and opening a bottle of wine, taking the kids here, you know. But I think being active, being productive, and having that separation. I once upon a time had my phone on me and I'd be at the park and I would be working but I'm not present.
But you're not present.
I'm not present. I'm not there. Leave the phone in the car. Go spend the time. But I think the burnout, would you call it compassion?
Compassion fatigue.
It's a real thing. It's a real thing. But that's when we have to look at ourselves and say, did we set our boundaries?
Yeah.
Are we resting when we're supposed to?
Yeah. I feel like our team, like Lucy and myself in particular, like we're always thinking about the other person. And then at the end of the day, when we're feeling like crap about ourselves, we're realizing, oh, we didn't even think about ourselves today. Well, hey, we didn't eat today. You didn't do these things for yourself. And no wonder you feel horrible. Like, and it's so hard to find, especially when you're an empath. Like I'm surrounded.
You and I both, sister. Yes.
Surrounded by empaths. And I think when you're in this business, you kind of have to be an empath because you are dealing with other people's wishes and wants. And you are their caretaker.
But you're also dealing with their emotions.
And their emotions.
So we take that on.
Yeah.
And we have to be very careful with that. Very careful with that. Another thing I love to practice is kind of saying each day to myself, okay, I know what they need. I know what everybody needs today. That's my job. I'm mom, I'm wife, I'm wedding planner. I know what everybody else needs today. What do I need? Can I give myself 20 minutes to just, what do I need to, did you eat?
Yeah, right.
Do you need to sit down for a minute? When was the last time you had water? You know.
Yeah.
I think, but a lot of it is that practice. Does that answer your?
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, that kind of leads me to another question. That certainly you're working on that for yourself, which is commend you for that, and but like when you're working with a client, I can see how the same skills could be translated or should be translated to the client, helping them to understand that this process that they're going through is going to be mentally, emotionally, physically, financially,
all the things,
stressful.
Yeah.
How do you help them, or what kind of tips would you give someone to help them to be present, more fully present in their planning of a wedding?
Ooh, that's a great question. I think really just going down to priorities. What's important? What can you live without? What do you have to have? What's the most important to you? We talked earlier about the Instagram, Pinterest versus reality type of thing. I think we're seeing even more of that now. And I think also sitting down and talking about expectations is huge. Communication is huge. You're in a relationship with all of your not only who you're marrying, but all your vendors, and I tell our couples that I won't book a wedding until they get on the phone with me, because we're in a relationship now. I need to know how you communicate. How do you want to communicate?
Yeah.
What are your expectations? And it's so important to them that they know, love, and trust everyone that they hire, right? What if you don't want to hire me and then find out you don't like my personality? I'm in your face for 12 hours on wedding day. You want to make sure that we're a good fit. So I think it's communication is key and really just talking about expectations of things.
Well, we've worked with so many couples that, you know, we're on the different side of things. We're on the entertainment side of things. So I think the couples, you know, they look at us and we're like, we're the fun thing. We're like the fun thing. And so I very rarely get people that are hard to work with. I would say it's more the father of the bride than anything else has given us the most hassle.
Father of the bride. Mm-hmm. I usually get mom.
Mainly because I've gotten a lot. I've said this before in prior podcasts, but I'll get these fathers that look at us and they go, oh, well, you can't be as good as a New York City band. I don't, you know, and they will give me a hard time about it until they actually see us in action. But, you know, I lost train of what I was saying there, but what was I saying? I can't remember. What was I trying to say?
Difficult people. Expectations.
Oh, yeah. Actually, most of my brides and grooms have been amazing. Mm-hmm. They've been amazing because we're like the fun piece to work with.
Right.
Like we don't have to, for us, they know it's, they don't have to worry about food coming out on time, da-da-da-da. They just know we're going to do the thing and make everyone dance and have a good time.
Right.
So I usually have amazing clients that I work with. Yeah. I cannot complain, but I have seen couples that go, in hindsight, go, man, I hired the wrong vendor for this.
Yeah.
Because they did not take the time.
Yeah. You want to take the time. You want to talk to the people you're hiring. And I know some vendors feel differently about this. And I know I'm not going to make a lot of friends here, but I believe this. I believe that every couple deserves to have a conversation with the vendors that they're hiring.
Sure.
And I know a lot of professionals who say, I don't need to get on the phone with you. Here's my pricing. Here's my package. You're booking or not. You know, we can text, we can email. I am not sorry.
Yeah.
I want to know who I'm working with. Yeah. Don't you want to get to know me?
Yeah.
We're going to be working together for the next 12 to 18 months. Sure. I'm in your face for 12 hours on wedding day. Why aren't we going to have a conversation? So I know I don't have a lot of fans with that, but I tell my couples that. Get on the phone with your MC.
Yeah.
I know not every MC. I know you might not like this either, but I want to talk to my MC. I don't care if it's 5 minutes.
I'm on the phone with them. I have 2 meetings with them ahead of time, face to face. Sometimes face to face. Most of the time, it's over Google Meet or something like that. But I have an initial meeting, and then we have a final meeting like a week prior, just to go through everything and make sure, me being an MC, I'm saying everything correctly. I know what's going on.
Yeah,
things are being executed the way that they want them to be executed, because there's a lot of, especially that final planning meeting, you realize a lot of family dynamics.
Oh yes, the family dynamics. Dun dun
dun dun dun. Mom and dad aren't together anymore. You don't want to walk out together. It's like, and really kind of piecemealing together the things that are going to make it work,
right,
and going to make it comfortable. So, at least in my industry, we take a lot of time to create these relationships with our clients. And by the end, we all feel like best friends a lot of the time.
And I admire you so much for it. The communication that you give to me as a planner.
Oh, good. That makes me feel good.
It's so helpful. It's so helpful.
Sometimes I never know because it's like, sometimes I'm like, are we stepping too much in that territory?
No, I love it.
But we like to be involved with, we like to know what's going on. I'm not going in there just to do a show. I'm going in there to put on the best night of someone's life.
Yeah.
And so that's super important.
It shows with every event you do, even leading up to the communication and even asking if we want to be a part of meetings. And we kind of operate the same way, like you said, with family dynamics. I kind of want to know what I'm walking into.
Yeah.
And I would say almost every family nowadays has some type of family dynamic. We all do.
Yeah.
We all have something, somebody. Yeah. we all have the one who's going to be late for their own funeral. We all have the one that we all have that. But I think it's important to know who that is.
Yeah.
Especially as a wedding planner. I want to know how much of it I have to manage that day, or a lot of times I just try to protect my couples from. And I'm not a bodyguard. I'm 4'11". I joke with that. I'm not a a family therapist and I'm not a bodyguard, but I can tell you it's time to come over here and take some pictures and get you away from, just kind of distract the situation. But I think you probably see this too. One of my favorite, I have a lot of favorite moments on wedding day, but my favorite is when all the formalities are done and everyone gets on the dance floor. It's one of my favorite moments.
Oh, yeah.
It's like everyone put all their crap into a bag.
And just
all
dance
their
and have a great time,
problems, They opened the door and they threw it in the parking lot.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, everyone just becomes one.
Yep.
Nothing matters. We let our hair down.
That's our favorite time of the night,
It's one of my favorite nights. And I think by that point, everyone's had some drinks.
Yeah.
Right? But most of the time, all the people that were having dynamics and causing the stress and causing the problems leading up to, they don't want to be embarrassed on wedding day. They're going to behave, right?
Yeah.
Most of them. Mm-hmm. I have maybe one situation a year where it's like, all right, come on, But for the most part, there's a lot of talk leading up to, but then on wedding day, everyone's like, no, all right. Yeah. I don't want to be that guy, Let's just have some fun.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
You agree?
I agree. We really haven't had any, we haven't had any outrageous or outlandish people this year. I don't believe. We've had some interesting. We've already talked about it in other podcasts. We've had interesting. We always say drunk uncle. There's always the drunk uncle.
Drunk uncle. There's always the
one who ties the
bro.
tie.
Yes, that one.
That is the international sign at a wedding for I should be flagged.
Yeah.
Is they literally put the flag over their head to tell the bartender.
There's always one.
Why would you do that?
Always one.
It's like telling the bartender, okay, I shouldn't have any more drink tonight. Take it off your head.
As a planner, I kind of equate it to being like a project manager.
Yeah.
Like for a big event. And I think too many people view the process in kind of this siloed approach. It's like, well, we're the entertainment, so that's all that matters to us, or we're the catering, or we're the photographer.
We're only thinking about our lane.
Yeah. And instead of thinking about it as we're a team that's coming together to do something that is hopefully going to be the highlight of some people's lives.
I think it's all our hopes to work with a great vendor team that wants to work together.
Amen.
On occasion,
but you have to herd cats sometimes.
I'll tell you, this nothing gives me a rash more than when you walk in and someone goes, "Oh, you're the planner." Like a vendor. Like all of a sudden they are already judging that I don't know what I'm doing and they don't want to work with me.
They all automatically assume I'm the planner a lot of the time because I'm with I've got my
you
little
have the pad, you have the iPad.
Thing. Yeah. And they're like, excuse me, where am I sitting? I'm like,
it's also the condescending looky good people.
I think it's so important we all understand we're all there for the same reason, right? Community over competition, working together. We're all there for the same goal, the same dream. But I do have a lot of people that come in and I talk to my team about this often, actually, because nothing hurts me more than when I hear a vendor say, I worked with this planner and she was so mean and so rude and she was yelling at everyone. And so they had a bad experience with a planner. Now they come in and think, everybody's like that.
Yeah.
And that doesn't even make sense. It would be like saying, hey, this florist didn't do this, so now every florist is this way.
Yeah.
This one DJ or this one band. We can't categorize people like that. I think it's really important to show up with a team effort and being willing to say, hey, we're all in this together. And you guys know as well as I do, a lot of times on wedding day, we have to pivot.
Every wedding we're pivoting.
That don't go on time according to whatever it is.
Very rarely does anything really go exactly according to plan. Obviously, we all know that it's kind of like it ebbs and it flows. And so we're all ready to handle the ebbs and flows. But every once in a while we'll find, hey, we got to play 15 more minutes. We got to fill 15 minutes of music here, or we've got flexible. You got to pivot and you've got to have a team, especially with the musicians, coming up with things on the fly.
Yeah.
Being comfortable with that.
A lot of it is flexibility, improvising, being willing to work with each other though too. I I could write a whole nother book about vendor experience.
Or
it'll be 2027. 2027 will be your second book.
Like, have you ever had like a wedding band maybe? And I don't know, maybe you've worked with some wedding bands that weren't professional in a certain way, but maybe, you know, you're getting the bridal party lined up, and then, you know, one of the bridal party members are in the bathroom, and so you're waiting, and so you're telling the band, I need another 5 minutes. I need another 5 minutes.
Very
and like
common.
They, you know, if they can't facilitate that,
Yes.
then it's probably not their arena.
Right.
Because you need to pivot so much. But
I think that's important too, is a lot of people get into the industry going, this is fun and fluffy and pretty, and it is. But there's also a lot of grit and grind.
I say this all the time.
Yeah.
I say you have to be a forward thinker. You cannot be in this business and not be a forward thinker. If you are not thinking ahead, and if you're not catching the gaps or the problems or the issues so you can plan ahead, not for you.
Right.
And I've worked with a lot of people that don't catch those things. And you're like, wait a minute. I mean, from my brain, I'm like,
we're 10 steps ahead. We have to be. Yeah.
You have to think 10 steps ahead. And where are we going to run into problems, and how am I going to fix it? Because you need to plan for that.
Very solution oriented. You have to be.
And not everyone is built that way. I'll just say that not everyone's built that way.
And I do want to add and say, in Central PA, we are extremely blessed with the wedding industry that we have here. 99.9% of us here are friends.
Yeah.
We all support each other, where if you go an hour north, south, east, west, could be a little different. You guys travel all over.
That's the kind of funny thing for us.
Yes.
We are out of the area 50% of the time, if not more. And so we do deal with we do a lot in the wedding industry in D.C. and Northern Virginia and Philadelphia. And we don't work quite as much in Central PA.
Interesting.
But it's always nice to work in Central PA, to be around our friends and to be around the people that we know we're going to throw a killer event with, because we're all going to hold hands.
Yeah.
And sometimes we walk into an event in Philly not knowing the other vendors and not knowing how we're going to mesh and are they going to work together with us. And
it's so unfortunate. I feel like you should be able to walk in to every wedding, every event, and say, hey, what's up, team? Let's go. Let's have fun tonight. Let's have, it's unfortunate it's not the case. And that's part of the reason I hold that vendor event every year at the end of the year.
I love that.
I preach community over competition. There is so many weddings. There's enough business to go around for all of us. And I really want to protect that in Central PA. I kind of grew up in the industry becoming friends with everyone, and I want to keep it that way. I'm not able to take on every wedding here. I want to be able to refer you to my other wedding planning friends. And I think that's so important. And it's really cool that event at the end of the year, just to kind of say, hey, peace out year. It was great. It was fun. Let's let our hair down. Celebrate.
Let's have fun. Because a lot of times we don't get to have fun together. We're working. Right. So we're all in work mode.
Yes. It's that time where we get to take our hard hats off. Yeah. We get to have a drink together. We get to talk, but also I don't like stuffy networking events. Mm-hmm. Not good at them, where you got it. Hello, my name is. Yeah. I actually one time got in trouble because I put no on it. My name is No. That's how much I hate stuffing.
You and me both.
I hate stuffy networking events. But this is, it's still networking. You're still meeting people and talking to people, but at your own pace. Yeah. And at the dance floor, on the dance floor, or at the bar. In a fun
environment that is actually probably more intuitive to making friends and to building bonds with people.
Right. But if you don't want to, you don't have to. Get a glass of wine, go out on the dance floor, And so, that event's always really fun for me. But I think I talk every year. I give a speech, and every year I say, I know you're sick of me saying this, but this is community over competition. Yeah. We're all in this together. We have to stick together.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, we'll probably have to wrap it up soon, but I want to ask you quickly, this came to mind, is I want to talk about some interesting things, at least for me, that I've noticed this year that were kind of trends that are happening things that are changing. One of them I've noticed is that more and more of my brides are not taking the last names of their spouse. I don't know if you noticed that.
Interesting.
I would say maybe 50% of my couples
surprised.
did not take the name.
I'm not surprised.
Or it's hyphenated.
Yeah.
So that was like kind of an interesting thing. Another interesting trend I noticed this year was that people were like, I don't want to introduce my bridal party individually. They're like, I'm going to send them out as a group. Get it over with.
Big time. Big time. And I actually have a lot of couples now that aren't having a wedding party.
Oh, yes, that too.
That's
they're like,
big right
they're
now.
like, what's the point? And I have a lot of couples that are going, it's just so cheesy. You know, there's a lot of the traditional things that are kind of really gone out the window.
A lot of them. Yeah.
I would say
cake cuttings, garter toss.
Nobody does that anymore.
No.
And I tend to cringe when somebody tells me they want to do a garter toss because I'm like, oh. But I would say the majority of them don't.
No, and I think that goes back to what I said. Our couples are a little older now. They're in their 30s. They're more accomplished. They went through their 20s with all their friends getting married. And they're like, okay, we all have more financial responsibility right now. I don't want my best friend to have to pay for a bridal shower and a bachelorette and a dress and shoes and get her hair and makeup done. So I think there's a little bit of the age and maturity thing and kind of where they're set at with life. But I have a lot of couples this year and next year who are not doing a wedding party. But what I love is they're still getting like a getting ready party with their friends.
Okay.
That if they were going to have a wedding party, it would be you. Yeah. You would be in my wedding party. But let's just all hang out in the bridal suite and
we're
have
just
mimosas
not doing
together.
We're just not doing the formalities.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think that's fun too. They still get the most out of their day, time with their people, but they're not making them obligated to do all the things.
I mean, not a lot of, quite a few of them don't like doing those things and don't really want to do the silly introduction.
Let's be honest, who actually likes to give a speech? Let's be honest. You might. You're a speaker. But there are very few and far between that really say, you know what, this is my time to shine.
Well, you know what?
Let me get up and give my best man speech.
My experience has been that the people that really want to give those speeches are the ones that should never be allowed next to a microphone in their lives.
So true. Yeah. They've been preparing for a year now.
This is my time to shine.
This is my time to shine. This is my moment. I think the absolute worst best man speech, and I will say this, the venue actually changed their policies because of this. I won't say the name, but it was... Yeah, he did listen to the wedding planner as far as like, hey, dude, I'm gonna need to take that from you. Just wait till after the speech. Slow it down a little bit. Nope. During his speech, you know how they have candles in front of the sweetheart table that like look so pretty? He kicked it. Like I don't want to say kicked. It was more like a stumble into, and it caught the flowers on the table on fire. And here's me going, oh, cool. And I have about 3 seconds till that entire table is on fire. So I go over and I grab the water glasses off the sweetheart table and then the guest table and put the fire out. And here's me just walking away like nothing happened. I didn't know what to do. What do I say? Okay, continue. Okay, keep going. I'm not an MC.
Yeah.
I'm a wedding.
Did he keep going?
Yeah, but it was short and sweet at that point, like, okay, add firefighter to my resume.
How did the guests react? Were they gasping?
Yeah. Everyone was just, I think a lot of it was in shock, like, oh, we actually have a fire. This is happening. Gosh. So then I got the email on Monday, the venue's changing their policy, no real candles, that whole thing. But you're right. He thought it was his moment to shine, but unfortunately... the alcohol. You gotta just chill till after that moment.
I think anybody giving speeches should be given a breathalyzer first. That's just the way it goes.
That's a great idea.
So let's flip that for a second, though.
Okay.
Right? So obviously, there are always things that we wish were different in the industry. But what are some of the things that you maybe wish would maybe come back more into vogue, or that you just really are, this needs to be a mainstay in any wedding that I'm going to work with?
As far as like what category? Traditions, things?
Yes, traditions or approaches or...
Oh,
That's a toughie.
that is a toughie.
That's what they pay me for, to give the tough questions.
I will talk about a popular subject is first looks. This is actually one of the first conversations I have with my couples, because I usually have one who wants to do the first look, the other one who doesn't or doesn't even get it. And my husband and I were actually the same way. As a planner, I'm like, we're doing first look. I want to join cocktail hour. This is happening. And he had never heard of it. It's like, what is the first look? No, I thought I would see you when you walk down the aisle. And so part of me, I'm seeing more of that, like 50% are bringing that back, where they're not doing the first look and 50% are still doing first look. And I tell all the couples, it's a personal decision. This is the first time you see your person on your wedding day. How do you want that to be? I really only recommend first look for really super anxious people. In that case, I'm like, oh, let's just do it.
Yeah.
You're going to feel better. You're going to be with your person, going to calm your nerves. But otherwise, if you're doing it for a timing standpoint or just to get all the photos done, you might want to rethink it. So I think the old tradition of waiting to see each other, I think there's a lot of build up to it. There's a lot of tradition to it. And I honored it. I waited my husband and I did not do first look. And looking back, what was really cool is all of our guests got to experience that moment with us. It was like the only time I ever saw my husband cry too. So the fact that everyone got to see that was really, really special. So I'd love to see a little bit more of that continue to come back. Yeah. Photographers are going to hate me for that. I know they love first look. They love first. Yeah. Because they can get it all done. They have plenty of time.
Yeah. I follow another podcast. It's two photographers called The Vendor Table.
Yes.
Do you follow them?
Yes, I love them. Yeah.
And I love following. They're hilarious, number one. And just them talking about the different things they are asked to do and the trends that, they follow or their clients are following and that they annoy them a little bit.
It would be tough for a photographer because there's new TikToks and there's new this and new this and new that. Yeah. I think another tradition that I would love to see stay. I know we are getting rid of like bouquet and garter, but I would love, and I hope they always stay, is the parent dances. I hope that they always stay. And not necessarily the tradition of mother and son, father, daughter. I've seen bride and mom. Yeah.
That's another big trend I saw this year.
Yeah. And I think that honoring the parents, even if they're not financially paying for the wedding, they're your parents. Yeah. And I think it's really cool. I know there's a lot of couples who have lost a parent, and I know that's a really hard thing to navigate through when maybe, your partner still has their parent, but you don't. It's a hard thing to balance. I get that. But if they could stick around and honor the parents still, I hope that stays forever.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, do you have anything else you'd like to add, Kaci? Anything you want to talk about?
No, I just love you guys. I'm having so much fun.
Oh, good.
Thank you for having me.
Wait until the after party starts.
Yeah. We're so glad that you got to join us. I'm so glad I have so much respect for you and what you do. I told her this a few weeks ago. She's small but mighty.
She's
small but mighty. And I admire the way you balance your life and how you have built your business. So much respect to you.
Right back at
Thank
you,
you
sister.
for joining us.
Back at you. Thank you for having me.
But this is the follow-up, episode number 4.
Woohoo!
With Kaci Willwerth.
And I'm your first
Simple
guest.
Soiree.
First
Actually,
guest.
you are their first guest.
Yes.
But
That is
before
so
we
cool.
leave, I want you to tell everyone about where they can find you.
We are Simple Soiree. You can find us at soireepa.com. Call me, email me, text me, however you want to reach out. But we are going to end up on a phone call. I have to talk to you. We have to get to know each other. We can have coffee, glass of wine, whatever you want to do. But Yeah, Simple Soiree. You can
But
find
just
me.
not first thing in the morning.
Not till after 9.
Not till after 9. All right.
We'll add the contact to our comments in the bottom, and so you can easily access Kaci and her team.
Yes.
But thank you so much.
Thank you.
This is the follow-up, episode number 4. Woohoo! Thanks for joining us, Kaci.
Thank you for having me. This was so much fun.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.